We're in Cafe Americano, which is in Tribeca, one of those trendy areas of New York. We're speaking with top freelance hairstylist Ron Capizzoli. Hello, Ron.
Hi, Dwight. How are you? Pleased to meet you.
So this is wonderful. All these great-looking people. Your photographs is art. It's a gallery.
Well, it's great for me. I'm enjoying it because most of the time, I've seen my work for quite a long time, so therefore to see it all up on the walls at one time, it's really very interesting. And most of the models that are in the shots were around tonight. What I have hanging up on the walls is a whole other ball game. It's taking hair, in some cases pieces, or just people's faces and looking at them and thinking of, well, what do you do with a model, say, for instance, like Carol Alt? I mean, here we have one of the most beautiful all-American models in the world, and you suddenly are going to do a fantasy piece on her. So what do you make her? Statue of Liberty. I've worked in salons all my life, and to be able to take hair and use it as a piece of material, a medium of art. I mean, to be able to mold it, sculpt it, and do things that I don't have to worry if she turns around for the back for a picture. It's a two-dimensional kind of a thing.
I notice a lot, especially in the professional end of the business, that it seems like there's an awful lot of conservatism in the work.
Well, I follow, I'm not going to say that I'm the most outrageous person in the world because I have a little method that I use for myself, and I think it pays off. I give you a very reliable shot on one side of my business card that says this guy is respected in the business, and then when you flip it over, you might find a naked lady, or you might find or something crazy, a man with a page boy.
So probably doing freelance, you really build more from personal contacts, one to the other. It's really like networking.
I would be lying, and anyone who knows me in the business know that I have, for 6 years, I have papered the house, so to speak. I send flyers out, I send cards out. I believe in promotion. I know how good I am, possibly, but no one else out there knows it. So I made it my business to do, hopefully, good work, and then expose it. I made it my business to let everybody... I'm one of those people that if I go through a magazine and I see an ad or a photographer's work, and I say, I could do hair for this guy. I love his photography. I'm on the phone the next day calling and saying, I would like you to see my book. And if they won't, if the secretary will only see it, I send it anyhow. And if they don't look at it right away, I send it again. It's, you got to want to be where you're at. I believe that you have to work to get where you're going. Nobody just calls you up and says, gee, you're wonderful, let's do a job, I think everybody in my business, models, everyone involved, you pay your dues. I'm really into my work. Even if it's nothing, if it's stick straight hair, if it's a ponytail, if they're jumping over a fence, I like what I do. But I was amazed to find out so many of the photographers stated that they were having problems finding people that really took an interest in what they were doing, and that's something I don't understand. I feel the same way about hairdressers as I do bus drivers. If you don't like your job, change it. You should want to be where you're at. You have to have a creative eye, and you have to keep moving, and I'm not ashamed to go and look at anyone's work, read any magazine. I watch people on subways. When the braiding stuff was out and I didn't have the time to take a course in braiding, I ran around this city looking at every girl that had her hair cornrowed or anything else to figure out how they did it, and I used a lot of it. As my business, the same as anyone else's business, there's very little that is really new. The art in our business, I believe, is being able to pick up things that have already been done and acclimate them into your own rendition so that you have something that is a piece of you.
We're at the Vicky Cole Agency in Tribeca, top agency that represents freelance photographers, makeup artists, hairdressers. We're here with one of Vicky's top freelance people, Ezel. Hi, Ezel.
Hi, Dwight. How you doing?
First time I met you, of course, it was a surprise, a little of a shock, and once I got over the initial shock, I found you really fascinating. The first night we talked, and you seem to have a very clear idea of everything, and a little abstract, but very unusual way of thinking. I think the first thing I want to talk about is, kind of like how you got started.
Okay. I used to work with my uncle on Saturdays in a barber shop, sweeping up hair and washing hair and occasionally doing a blow dry or two. So when I left school, I had no education at all. I couldn't read or write. I couldn't read now, but I can't write too well. So I obviously couldn't do something which would incorporate I'd have to read or write. The hairdressing seemed an obvious choice. I had no idea what it could lead to. I didn't even realise that any of this existed at that point. So off I went. I decided to do women's hair. I thought it would be a bit more interesting. And anyways, then I went through working for everybody. I worked for Leonard, Ricky Burns, John Frieda, Stafford Frieda, Shumi, Robert Labetta, the Ginger Group, Crimpers. Either I walked out or they fired me, one of the two. but that was all. It was a good learning process. And in the process, I realised that I started to understand that one could go out on sessions. When I worked for Michael John, I used to go out with everybody, just as an assistant at that point. In England, hairdressers generally have assistants on jobs, not like here, But you know what the British hairdressers are like, they're pretty ostentatious. So after I pitched asked about in London for about a year, and I worked for Look Now, which is like a teenage magazine, and my friend Becky Bain, she gave me the break. She would, just use me all the time, and we used to do covers and shit and rip off like Peter Lindbergh and all that sort of crap. So I went to Paris with a book full of this magazine, which no one knew that it was like a teenage magazine. It looked great. And I also had a laminated portfolio, which, the French are so lazy, they'd never get that sort of shit together. So anyway, off I went. I went Easter weekend, and I got over there, and I took my girlfriend with me because I was petrified. Plus I couldn't speak a word of French. it's bad enough speaking English. So I got to Paris, and I saw this agent, and she seemed pretty interested. I wasn't so sure, but she seemed like, yeah, but you have to live in Paris. I thought, oh, all right. I didn't have anything to lose. I thought I could just fly over there, do a few L covers, right? Stupid me. But I was fortunate enough to work with some of the best people in the world, and I got to work with Helmut Newton, which for me was, I suppose, the biggest goal in my life, anyways. Because in London I would get, French Vogue and that bullshit, and I really admired his work, and I'd seen his books and everything. So I got to work with Helmut and Guy Bourdin and Francois Lemay, just a lot of good people.
I think that people like to know what it's like to be freelance.
Well, it's not really what one would imagine. People have this over glamorized view of what our business actually consists of. In reality, it's just fucking hard work. And you have to deal with so much. Generally, it's not bullshit. Yeah, it's bullshit. You just have to be able to deal with situations, with people. A lot of the time, you just have to be strong, opinionated. They're always people are always trying to, in this business, people try to shit on each other. That's basically the way it works. It's like people get insecure. It's like, oh, who's fucked up and what? Who can we blame for this? So you have to be pretty opinionated, right? You can't let people take advantage of you, and that's what always happens. I have a style, a technique that I use. Basically, hairdressing comes down to, like most things, it's a basic structure. It's all your preparation. It's not. It's just, you have a basic way of working, and then you do that, and then once you get out onto the set, you have some idea of where you're going to actually push it, because you really don't know until you get out to that point. Actually, would be a lot easier for me, even if they got them all. What to do, they get them dressed, but they could dress them all, go out on the set, take a Polaroid, then I can see. Also, you've got to deal with what the light does to the hair, what the whole concept is. See, a lot of people don't even get their concept together. See, people. It's like at some point you may go in and the makeup could be strong, so you play the hair down, or the makeup could be weak, not weak, but less, and then you play the hair up. You're just an element in creating the whole illusion.
We're at St. Mark's Place at the colorful East Village, with the owner of Untold Tales, Yusuf. Hi, Yusuf.
Hey, Dwight. How you doing? Glad you can make it.
Yusuf, you were on 57th Street?
Yeah, it's an Andre.
And then you moved to Soho?
Yeah.
And then you moved to East Village. Is that kind of like how the action was going? Is that how you ended up here?
Yeah, pretty much so. Down here, we're able to express ourselves much more freely. And for the kind of looks that we do, I figured that this would be the best place to do it, because the energy you could draw. At Madison Avenue, we would be fighting more so, because you have to dictate. Madison Avenue actually dictates what you're going to do, and we wanted to be much more free and more pure in our thoughts.
Yeah, you're the first one I've seen doing extensions with real hair. I mean, the synthetic hair I've been seeing for the last 3 or 4 years, but this seems a new concept.
Yeah. Well, is it new? No, it's not new. It's always been done in the black community. Women have always had their hair weaved or with extensions, and they've preferred human hair, like Dinah Ross. That's an example. Cecily Tyson. Our clientele, once they kind of like they want to move away from just that punk look that we kind of get the feeling with this monofiber hair, and they rather infuse it with real hair because it's long, luxurious, and it feels good.
Some of the ones that look so real to me was the ones that you were doing with the weaving technique, which is different, right, than extensions.
Oh yeah, the weaving is. I think the weaving is going to really come into play. It's done on tracks. It's done without using any kind of adhesive to glue it together. There's no heating or burning involved. It's strictly attaching hair to tracks that we make, and it's less painful, and it holds up about the same, but it looks more natural.
A lot of times you think of the real trendy salons. First of all, you don't think that somebody like yourself would come from Madison Avenue and be down here. I don't know, you have conjured up this image of something very different, and your photographs, you do some great photographs. In a way, you're like Madison Avenue, but you're not.
Well, I got my training from Madison Avenue. I was an apprentice at Fidel Sassoon, his original salon, for about 2 years. I worked at some of the best salons like St. Andre. I've done magazine work in Europe. In fact, I still go back and forth. It's very much of that caliber. It's just that I personally would like to take it to another level.
What I also thought was very interesting is the inside of your salon. It looks like you had different artists come in and do their thing right into your wall.
Yeah, right. Well, unlike most salons, which are high-tech and very, we were faced with a problem. We're here in the East Village. What can we do? I mean, the buildings here are falling apart. What can we really do? So I said, well, let's try something different. Let's try to bang into the walls, make it more organic, take it to a different level.
Public relations consultant, image maker, journalist, and trendsetter. That's my attempt to introduce Helen Oppenheim. Hi, Ellen.
Hello, Dwight.
You've been behind a lot of really big names. Can you tell us some of those names?
La Coupe, Vidal Sassoon, USA, John Sahag.
And you were more, though, than a public relations director for them.
Mm-hmm.
So what was maybe you can elaborate on your, say, La Coupe.
I put La Coupe on the map by not just doing public relations, but also by being an image maker. And also I worked as their creative director, which meant I worked with all the hairdressers on ideas, perms, cuts, colors, conceptualized the releases, art directed the photographs, and had tremendous freedom to do great things, which at the time we were doing from Canada.
It's amazing. You seem to have been able to do it even once again, because at one time all of the looks that Sassoons were doing came from London. And then all of a sudden there was a small period where it came from America. And
Vidal Sassoon at the time had just launched their products. It was 8 years after they had launched their products, and they had been putting a lot of their energies into the products, and the salons had not really been energized and motivated. And so I was hired, tempted away from La Coupe, in fact, and given the tremendous challenge of revitalizing the salons. And I worked as, again, creative director and public relations director. I had 2 jobs. I, again, was given a certain amount of power to do this, and I was senior to all the hairdressers, which in reality, not all the Vida Sassoon hairdressers took too well to. Obviously, as a non-hairdresser coming in, telling them this hair had to be shorter and this hair had to be longer. And it was a very tough job to do it in all the salons.
What would be your advice for other salons for moving ahead?
Public relations can create an atmosphere in which a product or corporation, company, or salon will enjoy an intangible advantage over its competitors on the strength of its image. To be effective, I tell them that during the year, every promotional element that comes before the public, and by every promotional element I mean every element, everything from a logo to stationery to their business card to a mention that might happen at a fashion show to photographs, obviously, but absolutely everything, the way their receptionist answers the telephone, totally everything. Every promotional element that comes before the public should be recognized. Most people don't know why something is successful if it's as a result of public relations, and they have to really trust and have confidence in their public relations person, not just for 2 months or 3 months or 6 months, but really minimum for a year. You have to think of public relations as an investment over the year, not as a over-the-top expense. And it has to be an investment you're spending so much on, and you have to realize that you might not see returns immediately. It might take a year, and you have to trust this person. So if you can't afford to have the best person in the city, go out and find someone who's enthusiastic, who has taste and fashion sense, and is honest.
What is hot? What is going to happen next?
At the moment, I think what's hot probably is small heads as opposed to big heads. I think straighter than straight hair has not arrived in this country yet, and I think that it's going to be big. I think waves have been coming for a year and a half, and as anybody who knows me knows, I always say waves. Now they're finally here again, and they're probably going to rule for a while. So I have gone into business with Salon Video Network, best of the best video company, and we are going to produce something called HOT, which is Helen Oppenheim's Trends. And we're going to make it available to hairdressers and to salons and to possibly the consumer, and it's going to be very hot.
Well, I'm so glad you came with us, and I'm going to make sure that we continually see hot so we know what's really hot.
Fantastic.
Go into any major studio in Chicago, Minneapolis, or New York, and you just might find the colorful works of makeup artist Sonia Kasher. Hi, Son.
Hi, Dwight.
You know, you've been a makeup artist for a long time, but really it's happened for you in the last couple of years.
Realistically, it came about 4 years ago when, after I finished school, I decided if I was really going to be serious, because I had been playing around with it a bit, that if I was going to be really serious about it, I wanted to train and work with the best person in the world there was to work with. And I kept studying editorial credits and came up with Linda Mason, because her work was wonderfully brilliant, very versatile, from a very fresh, modern approach to makeup to a very avant-garde, splashed-out, new revolution that was going to really transform the makeup industry. And for the last 4 years, I worked with Linda, assisting her in any way I could. I started at the very bottom, just powdering and taking off nail polish. I started in New York with her, then went on to Paris, worked in Paris with her, and then still maintained my base in Minneapolis, traveling back and forth all the time. And it was only 9 months ago that I came into New York feeling that I had the confidence to approach the market.
We have grown and changed so much since you've been with us, and a lot of it was your input.
And the makeup actually became like the final accessory, which it oftentimes is. I mean, you don't need a ton of jewelry if you're putting out strong makeup, because that's going to carry its own look. And sometimes it gets too whimsical by having all these elements, and when you're in a hair situation, the most important thing should be the hair, and all the elements should become secondary to the hair, but yet making the hair the most outstanding point. And it's just been a phenomenal thing, me working with the team, because we really have established a really phenomenal relationship. And I always feel that if I put things out, there's always the backup.
You know, the thing that amazes me the most is that, you know, we never do less than 30 models. And I've never seen you do the same makeup twice.
The reason that no two faces are the same, because no two people are the same. And it's hard at times, but you have to really work into the girl or the guy and figure out what that personality is and expand on it. So, of course, everybody's going to be different. Even if I'm going for a group effect of trying to promote a certain look within a group of people, there's still going to be certain things that are going to separate them due to the fact of facial structure and personality. It maintains such a strong sense for me in developing someone's face that once you lose that, you've lost it all. And it's so important to have the sensitivity to pick that up in a person. And everybody's a colorful character, so everybody's face is going to be colorful.
You know, Sonia, the thing that I think that makes you so special and unique is your ability, you know, for no other better word, for networking. You know, I don't know how you do it, but wherever you go, so does everybody else converge.
I once got this fortune, and I think it said, in your ability to succeed, so will your friends. And damn it, I'm going to make sure they do. I love connecting people. It's been wonderful because everybody has meshed together. Wherever I've brought somebody in, it's worked. So I guess, like I said, if something works, go with it.
Sonia, you're a pleasure to be with, a great talent, and a real friend.
And you're a good friend.
We're speaking with Cindy Crawford, one of the hottest models in Chicago, now becoming one of the hottest models in New York. God, you've had such success since you've been here. You're already on the cover, going to be on the cover of American Vogue, cover of German Vogue.
I have no complaints so far. As long as I'm busy, I'm happy.
When you first get to a session, how does the different hairdressers approach your hair?
Most hairdressers kind of get the feeling of what your hair does naturally and push it around a little bit. And then, I mean, it depends on the kind of clothes or the kind of makeup or whatever.
Do you usually like what they do?
No. Well, I mean, not usually. I sometimes really like it.
So what do you think about hairdressers in general do your hair? I mean, their ability to do it, or?
Well, I mean, it varies greatly. Some people aren't creative, but I think the good ones, I mean, I really like working with a good hairdresser because they care about what they're doing and they want to work with you, and they say, do you like this, or how do you like, do you like your bangs down or do you like them up, and you work together, and it works with the makeup and it works with the clothes, and then you get a great picture.
Can you tell right away if they're going to do a good job or not?
Well, I think I can. I mean, sometimes a hairdresser who I don't think is very good can come up with a good hair style or hairdo, but not consistently. And I think I usually feel like I can tell, because a good hairdresser works with your hair. Ones that aren't as good, spray, spray, spray all day long. You wouldn't believe how much hairspray I have in my hair sometimes at the end of the day. So
kind of the less they do to get it to look like it's supposed to look, is the better they are.
Don't you think that the less hairspray and the less, I mean, the more you can just do with molding with your hands in a blow dryer, that takes a lot more ability than spraying. I mean, if you can get the bangs to stand up just by blowing them and combing them, that's a lot harder to do than just going and taking a really strong hairspray, which I won't say the name, and spraying it. It's funny that you judge people by the products they use or even by the tools they use.
So it was great when you and Sonia came up to the house and spent the weekend with us.
That was fun, and I can't wait to come back.
Well, I can't wait to have you back.
Okay.
You're always
Thank
welcome.
you.
53rd Street with John Sahag, the #1 freelance hairstylist, now salon owner. Hello, John.
Howdy doody.
I mean, you were like, I don't want to bring up the subject of money, but you were making an unbelievable amount of money as a freelancer. You had a certain amount of freedom of expression, which you've mentioned before. I still want to know why you chose to open a salon.
Money is not important. We must make it clear for once and for all, being craftsmen, doing what we love best and we believe in, just to perform it within its pure form, just for a change. Christ, I mean, people are paying for our services, aren't they? Why worry about money? Talking about a shop. Okay, for me, it's not a shop, it's not a hair salon. For me, it's an atelier. It's a place where I can really perform my trade. I could really have kicks and do really beautiful work, not only on models, but on people, on real people. And it's obvious that you attract the kind of ladies through the kind of work that you perform. You know, if you believe in rollers, then you get people in who want a shampoo and a set, plus and plus, when I was 12 or 13. It's obvious that my style is just cut and wear. It's as simple as that. Not wash and wear, it's cut and wear. It's a perfect situation to have for me, to perform exactly what I believe in.
You charge $150 per haircut, so you're not thinking of money, you're just...
$150, Christ, you know, I'm, you know, when I work in studios, I make $3 grand a day. $150, I do 7 haircuts a day. Well, I certainly am not thinking about money.
When I look through magazines and I see the people you've worked on, you know, the names, God, there's stars, there's the top models. Isabella Rossellini.
Isabella Rossellini, one of the more matured ladies who came into the fashion scene and literally took care of the, including the Lancôme contract. She's worth every bit of it. I think she's extraordinary. And I must say, after 4 years, I had an extraordinary situation where I scored a great series in American Vogue with wigs on her.
Tell us about Diane Brill at the Palladium.
I just finished doing a shoot with her about a week ago for the Palladium to be blown up 50 by 50 for a fashion show. And I discovered that she was one of the most extraordinary human beings. Very normal, a wonderful human being. I love her for it, and I think she's a great lady, and I think she looked extraordinary, and she will continue to be so. Gracias muchas, querida.
Thank you very much, John. Great being with
Love you.
Again.
Cheers. Great seeing you. Our next show will be in Las Vegas. All naked.